Beth's heart raced as she approached the band room, her clarinet case clutched tightly in her sweaty palms. This was it, her chance to join the elite ranks of Westbrook High's prestigious band. She had heard the rumors, whispers of their otherworldly talent, and the mysterious aura that surrounded them. Taking a deep breath, she pushed open the door and stepped inside. Immediately, she felt out of place, a fish out of water in this world of effortless cool and confidence. The band members lounged about, their postures relaxed yet commanding, as if they owned the very air they breathed. Beth's gaze was drawn to Lilith, the raven-haired beauty who seemed to be the unspoken leader of the group. Lilith's piercing eyes met hers, and Beth felt a shiver run down her spine. There was something unsettling about the girl, an intensity that hinted at depths Beth couldn't begin to fathom. Mustering her courage, Beth approached Mr. Harrington, the band director. His stern expression did little to ease her nerves as she stammered out her request to join the band. To her surprise, Harrington didn't immediately turn her away. Instead, he studied her for a long moment, his gaze seeming to pierce straight through to her soul.
"This isn't your typical high school band," he warned, his voice low and gravelly. "We demand perfection, unwavering dedication. The rewards are great, but the price is high. Are you prepared to pay it?" Beth swallowed hard, her mouth suddenly dry. She had no idea what he meant, but the promise of being part of this elite group was too tantalizing to resist. "Yes," she managed to croak out. "I'll do whatever it takes." Harrington's lips curved into a thin smile, and Beth couldn't shake the feeling that she had just made a deal with the devil himself. The first few weeks were grueling, pushing Beth to her limits and beyond. Harrington was a relentless taskmaster, demanding perfection from every note and movement. Beth's fingers grew calloused, her muscles ached, and her social life dwindled to nothing as she poured herself into mastering her clarinet. Through it all, the other band members remained aloof, their tight-knit circle impenetrable. Beth felt like an outsider, an intruder in their world of effortless cool. She caught them sharing knowing glances, whispering inside jokes that she didn't understand. But slowly, as the weeks turned to months, something began to shift. Beth's dedication and hard work started to pay off, her playing growing stronger and more confident. And with that newfound skill came a sense of belonging, a glimmer of acceptance from the others. It started with a subtle nod of approval from Lilith, a silent acknowledgement of Beth's progress. Then came the inside jokes, whispered comments that made Beth's heart swell with a sense of belonging. Finally, she was invited to join their exclusive gatherings, where they bonded over their shared passion for music and the thrill of pushing themselves to the limit. As Beth immersed herself in their world, she couldn't help but notice the subtle changes in her new friends. Their eyes seemed to glow with an otherworldly light, their movements growing more fluid and hypnotic with each passing day. An aura of power surrounded them, a palpable energy that crackled in the air and raised the fine hairs on Beth's arms. Finally, the day of the competition arrived. Beth's heart pounded as she followed the band onto the bus, confusion mounting when they pulled up not at another school, but at an ancient church tucked away in the heart of the city. "Where are we?" she whispered to Lilith. Lilith's full lips curved into a secretive smile. "You'll see." The church's interior was dimly lit, the air thick with the scent of incense and something else, something rich and earthy that made Beth's head spin. The band members filed onto the stage, taking their positions with a reverence that bordered on worship. As the first haunting notes filled the air, Beth felt a tremor run through her entire being. This was no ordinary music. It was a primal, ancient melody that seemed to reach into the very depths of her soul, plucking at strings she didn't know existed. She played with a fervor unlike anything she had ever experienced before, her fingers dancing across the clarinet with a newfound intensity.
The rhythm was hypnotic, pulling her in and consuming her until she lost all sense of self. As she lost herself in the intoxicating rhythm, the air around her grew heavy, charged with an electric energy that raised the fine hairs on her arms. A chill ran down her spine as shadows began to coalesce in the corners of the room, taking on vaguely humanoid shapes that danced and swirled in time with the music. Beth's breath caught in her throat as she realized what, or who, they were. The music devils, ancient beings drawn by the band's offering, their twisted forms a grotesque parody of beauty. Their very presence seemed to suck the warmth from the room, leaving a chill that seeped into Beth's bones. Yet still she played on, consumed by a rapturous ecstasy that obliterated all sense of self. She was no longer a separate entity, but rather a part of the music itself, a conduit for the dark power that coursed through her veins. The music swelled to a crescendo, the shadows growing more frenetic in their dance, their movements becoming a blur of twisted limbs and gaping maws. Beth felt herself being swept away, consumed by the primal force that surrounded her, her very essence merging with the haunting melody. And then, as abruptly as it had begun, it was over. The last note hung in the air, trembling with the weight of what had transpired. Beth blinked, her vision slowly returning to normal as the shadows melted away, leaving only the faintest chill in their wake. For a moment, she simply stood there, her chest heaving, her mind struggling to process what she had just experienced. It was as if she had been transported to another realm, a dark and twisted place where ancient forces held sway. As she looked around at her fellow band members, their faces etched with a mixture of terror and exhilaration, she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. They had crossed a threshold, stepped into a world of power and darkness that could never be unseen. Beth opened her mouth to speak, but no words came. Lilith was the first to break the silence, her voice a hushed whisper. "We did it. We pleased them." A collective sigh of relief rippled through the group, and Beth realized the true stakes of their performance. If they had failed... She shuddered, not wanting to dwell on the consequences. As they filed out of the church, Beth felt a strange sense of emptiness, a longing for the dark euphoria she had experienced on stage. She needed to feel that way again, to lose herself in the music and surrender to the primal forces that had taken hold of her. Lilith seemed to sense her turmoil. "Don't worry," she murmured, her eyes glittering with a knowing look. "We'll have our reward soon enough." True to Lilith's word, the band members were summoned to a private ceremony a few days later. They gathered in a candle-lit chamber, the air thick with the scent of burning herbs and the promise of ancient power. One by one, they stepped forward to receive their reward, a single wish, granted by the music devils themselves. Beth watched in awe as her friends wished for wealth, fame, eternal beauty. When it was Beth's turn, she knew exactly what to ask for. "I wish to experience the dark ecstasy of the music again," she had breathed, her voice trembling with longing. But as the shadows shifted and coalesced, a chill ran down her spine. The music devils had granted her wish, but not in the way she had expected. "Your wish has been granted," the voice intoned, its otherworldly timbre sending shivers through Beth's body. "But know this, to experience the ecstasy again, you must all face the ultimate test, year after year, until the end of your days." Beth's breath caught in her throat as the full weight of those words sank in. She had not only bound herself to the music devils, but her fellow band members as well. They would all be forced to chase that primal high, to risk their very lives in a twisted ritual that would play out again and again, without end. Beth's heart raced as the disembodied voice echoed through the chamber, the weight of her wish hanging heavy in the air. She had spoken without truly comprehending the consequences, her desire for that euphoric high clouding her judgment. as she looked around at her friends, their faces etched with a mixture of terror and exhilaration. She realized the gravity of what she had done. She had condemned them all to a life of darkness, a never-ending cycle of madness and depravity. Yet even as the weight of her actions threatened to consume her, Beth couldn't help but feel a twisted sense of excitement. For she was bound to these people, these vessels of ancient power who had become more than just friends. They were her kindred spirits, her fellow travelers on a path that few dared to tread. As they prepared to return to the mundane world of high school, Beth knew that their work was far from over, for the music devils demanded more, always more, and she would be the one to deliver. As she scanned the hallways of Westbrook High, her gaze fell upon a group of students, their faces alight with curiosity and a hunger for something more. Beth recognized that look, for she had worn it herself not so long ago. A slow smile spread across her lips as she approached them, her movements fluid and hypnotic, drawing them in like moths to a flame. "Have you heard the rumors about the band?" she purred, her voice like velvet, laced with the promise of forbidden knowledge. The students leaned in, their eyes wide, hanging on her every word. "They say we're prodigies, destined for greatness," Beth continued, her words weaving a tapestry of lies and half-truths. "That we possess a power unlike anything you've ever seen." She could see the hunger growing in their eyes, the desire to be a part of something greater than themselves. "But it's not without its price," she warned, her tone taking on a darker edge. "To truly understand the music, you must surrender yourself to it, body and soul." The students exchanged glances, a frisson of fear and excitement passing between them. "Are you willing to pay that price?" Beth challenged, her eyes glittering with a hint of madness. "To step into a world of darkness and ecstasy, where the boundaries of reality blur and the music becomes your very essence?" One by one, the students nodded, their faces set with determination. Beth's smile widened, a twisted expression of triumph. "Then follow me," she beckoned, turning on her heel and leading them towards the band room. As they approached the imposing doors, Beth could sense their trepidation, the weight of their decision settling upon them like a shroud. She paused, her hand resting on the doorknob, and turned to face them one last time. With a flourish, she pushed open the doors, revealing the dimly lit chamber where their dark symphony would begin. As the students filed in, their faces a mixture of fear and exhilaration, Beth knew that she had ensnared them, drawn them into the twisted web of madness and depravity that had consumed her own soul. For she was the Harbinger, the conduit through which the music devil's dark melodies would echo forever and ever, until the world itself was consumed by the twisted ecstasy she had unleashed. And as the doors swung shut behind them, sealing their fate, Beth's laughter echoed through the halls, a harbinger of the apocalypse to come. "Welcome," she intoned, her voice low and ominous, "to the Black Parade."